Hello everybody and welcome back to the Figure Forecast. It's been a few weeks, for whatever reason, holidays, deaths, no deaths I don't think, other miscellaneous reasons we haven't been around, but we're back and we are in person. This is really strange to do the podcast in person because since its inception we've been doing it over Zoom and WhatsApp. But yeah, we're in person. I can see Damien, I can feel Damien. It's really strange. How are you?
Oh, I'm pretty good. It is quite weird recording this in person. It makes it feel very different to doing it over Zoom, but it's going to be this way for a little while, so hopefully it sounds good, but yeah, it's going to be a learning curve. It's going to be something to get used to for the next couple of weeks.
It is. Hopefully we're not going to have the awkward sort of overlaps and silences that we have over Zoom, so it is a bit of a better listening experience if you want. But shall we dive into this week's wrestling, or should I say the last few weeks wrestling, because I think it's been 2 weeks since the last episode, and what a 2 weeks it's been in the world of WWE, AEW and wrestling in general. Some big stars have been released from WWE, some big stars have been potentially rumoured to go to AEW, and we're going to dive in and discuss that. And I think the best place to start would be probably the biggest shock over the last 2 weeks in Bray Wyatt being released.
Yeah, it's a very weird release, quite sudden. You sent me a message when it got announced. I wasn't on Twitter, but for a second I thought it was a joke. There's been a lot of these kind of jokes about certain people being released, been memed quite a bit on Twitter, and I thought it was one of those. Didn't think it was real at first, and then went and checked, and what a surprise, it was real. Did not see it coming.
No, me either. It's a huge surprise because he is just like, he's one of WWE's biggest merch sellers. So,
yeah.
and I think the reason they gave was budget cuts, like they have with all of these releases. And you sort of think, well, if he's one of your biggest sellers and you're doing budget cuts, surely those two don't add up. It's just so strange. And he's, from all accounts, he's such sort of a creative person. To lose him from WWE seems bizarre, but that's just the way WWE is at the minute. It is bizarre, it's crazy, and there's so little logic that you can put towards any of these releases.
Yeah, as you said, one of the biggest merch sellers. Apparently the network was not happy with his release either, so it seems very strange that WWE would go out of their way to piss off both of their sides of where they make their money. The network pays for all the TV stuff and the fans buy the merch, so why would you want to piss them both off?
I don't know.
It didn't stop there for pissing everybody off, because if that wasn't a big enough thing for WWE to do wrong, they then went after NXT.
Oh god.
Now, most of the releases for NXT weren't names I recognise. I don't watch much of NXT, but there was a couple of big names. Bronson Reed, who was recently the North American champion,
and he's been having dark matches as well on main event and on the main roster, and it was rumoured that he'd be going up to SmackDown or somewhere, and for him to be released is a shock.
Yeah,
there was Bobby Fish, Undisputed Era,
obviously one of the biggest stories of NXT for the last several years,
and he's been in one of the main stories on NXT with Diamond Mine and all that sort of crap. And it's I think it was 13 in total from NXT. There's barely a roster left down there now.
No, trimming some of the superstars is always going to be a thing that happens. We've mentioned it when we talked about previous releases, that they can't keep everyone at once, but it did seem a bit excessive. And when there's so many that are prominent superstars, it doesn't look good for WWE, and that's kind of the thing that's been noted. Now, obviously, there's plenty of places for wrestlers to go at the minute. Impact and AEW, if you want to stay in North America, and various places abroad as the world starts to open back up again. So it shouldn't be so much of a problem for any of these superstars, but it's more the snowball effect that something like this happens. Adam Cole is rumoured to be coming to the end of his contract and not renewing, which is another big negative for WWE. But realistically, why would he stay when there's no job security in WWE at the moment? Main roster, you can be in a story and then released on the same week, and we've had further news that NXT is going to change, so Triple H isn't even fully in control of his own show at the minute.
No.
As the details haven't really come out fully about this. It's rumoured they want to go back to more of a like the game show version of NXT, but I really hope that's not true because that was hilariously terrible.
I really hope it's not true too, because it's crazy, really, wasn't it?
Yeah.
That is where the Nexus came from.
Yeah,
Believe it or
it
not.
wasn't a complete waste, but compared to NXT we have now,
Yeah.
It's so bad.
What I hope from NXT is that it goes back to being the developmental brand that it's meant to be. As soon as they threw it on a network, it became a brand and something that had to deliver week in, week out, and that sort of wipes out the developmental aspect of that show. But that was sort of the beauty of NXT between sort of 2014 and 2017 when it was on the network. Those golden years with sort of Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn, Finn Balor, Joe. It was amazing because you'd have like these sort of top headliners and then you'd have these people popping up that you didn't necessarily know about, and they were given a certain amount of time and there wasn't the pressure of being on network TV to deliver an amazing match, and it was just that perfect blend, and that's what I really hope it goes back to. But I don't know if you can, because again it's on, is it USA or is it Sci-Fi or something it's on? But it's on a network TV channel in America, and it's just so hard to be a developmental brand but then have to deliver numbers to a network.
Yeah,
So
kind of genie out the bottle kind of thing. Can
it
you
kind
put
of
it back
killed itself, really. It killed itself when they tried to counter-program AEW. It's a shame, but I don't think NXT is really ever going to be the same as what it is now. In a way, their unique selling point was it was kind of an alternative from main roster WWE NXT. But now there's a company that is being an alternative from main roster WWE in sort of a better way than what NXT is doing now. So it's lost its unique selling point, if you want. So it's interesting times for NXT. They've definitely got to make a change, and it'll be interesting to see what they do.
Well, the big one is that they apparently want to focus on younger talent, which, of all the things they've announced, that I feel like is the one thing people shouldn't take as a negative.
No.
Because it is meant to be developing the next generation of superstars. So if you focus on those, I think WWE said under 30, there's nothing really wrong with that. That is kind of what it's meant to be for. So yeah, a lot of big names in NXT wouldn't fit into that, but it kind of makes sense for how they want it. The problem is they seem to want to go back to focusing on big guys, over 6 foot, 250, 300 pound guys, and wrestling's moved away from that quite a bit. There's still a place for that guy in wrestling, but it's not the only focus point. And if WWE want to go back to that, to the 80s, 90s style, it's going to fail. People want the variety. They want people like Finn Balor doing flips and that on NXT. And it was like the smaller guy has a place and can do stuff that a bigger guy can't. As hilarious it would be to watch someone like the Big Show do a 450 splash. He's going to hurt himself. Like, he's not going to be able to do it. That's something that only exists in a video game. But it's going to be interesting where kind of all the cards fall with these changes, as it is still kind of developing. Nothing's changed just yet, but it's had a lot of backlash.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, definitely. It's going to be an interesting time in this sort of transitional period in inverted commas for NXT. But you mentioned Finn Balor there. We haven't had a chance to discuss his sort of story on the main roster. What are you thinking so far?
I knew something was going to happen.
Yeah.
When they announced it, we joked about it on, I think, the previous episode or the one before that, about what's Finn Balor going to do on SmackDown, and he gets put straight in the title picture. We knew there was going to be a twist because obviously John Cena being back, he was going to be that. I actually quite liked the fake out of Baron Corbin trying to steal the title match. I thought that was brilliantly done because it fits in everything that the character's doing. And if John Cena wasn't in the picture, I'd have said give it to Baron Corbin. It would have, he could have come out lost and then Finn Balor come out to have the match afterwards. It would have been a great story. But they obviously set it up. Cena takes the title shot. I don't think it's the best story, but I think trying to do the fake out, I think they made the best out of the situation they had of wanting to just play with the fans a little bit before they give you the match, and I was entertained, so I can't complain too much about that. We knew we was getting the match, so they just had to make us wait for the confirmation a little bit more.
Yeah, it's definitely a different way to get to the match, which fair play to them, they're doing something different, that's what we want to see. I don't know if I liked it or not, because I've been really enjoying this Baron Corbin character. Really enjoying it. And in my mind, it was this guy that was an absolute dick. We've seen it throughout the years, Baron Corbin, he's a horrible bloke, heel, but he's come on hard times, and it's almost like he's still being a dick, trying to get money off of people. And then Kevin Owens, that week before this contract will happen, showed him a bit of compassion, and it's almost like something switched in Baron Corbin's head for me, and he realised, like, oh, Kevin Owens was so nice to me, and it was almost, that was sort of a catalyst to his babyface turn, if you want. And then the next week, he comes down and rushes and tries to steal a contract, and so I said, oh, he's a heel again.
Is it a heel move?
I don't know.
John Cena did it.
Well, this is what I'm saying. Like, it's kind of like, oh, so now he's just being a complete dick again and stealing from people because he's that desperate. So that was one thing for that. And then the top babyface on the whole show and the whole company then beats up this guy who the crowd loves and is trying to become a babyface, and it's just all confused for me. That's where I am. I didn't hate it. It was just confusing. I was trying to sort of figure out who fits where and all the dynamics and stuff, and I couldn't picture it all together.
It is a confusing time of who are you meant to cheer for, who are you meant to vote for. It's been a problem for a while because fans love to cheer the heels and boo the faces. It's always been a bit confusing, but those lines are really starting to blur at the minute. I think Baron Corbin is still meant to be a heel. I don't know. We talked about it before, like, you make him really sympathetic, but he's a heel. But I like the idea of him being pushed so far to do something desperate. And I think, not that WWE are very good at telling a long story, but there's a real opportunity to do something good with Baron Corbin here, and he's a very hard worker for WWE. He's always kind of been a bit of an annoying character that you never wanted to really see just because of how he was portrayed, but like the man behind the character is always putting a lot of effort. So
I don't know if you ever saw Baron Corbin on NXT, but it was as he was in the game. Like when you get paired with the Lone Wolf, so ironic. You get paired with the Lone Wolf in a tag team. But he was the Lone Wolf, and he was this like badass kind of biker guy, and he was really cool down there. And he kind of was when he first came up to WWE, but then he became Constable Corbin and all that crap where he was like dressed as a waiter and stuff, and part of the Authority, being blamed for Raw being crap. But I think this perhaps is the best version of Baron Corbin we've ever had. It's just so entertaining, and he's fully committing to it with the hair and the beard and the shirt. I love all the little details, and it is a character that I'm really enjoying. I want to see more of it, and I just pray that they don't ruin it. Pray that they don't.
It'll be interesting to see what happens post SummerSlam with that character.
Yeah. Where
the feuds fall. Obviously, SummerSlam is being built as the second biggest show of the year, so it's kind of same as WrestleMania. It's kind of a bit of a soft reset afterwards. Like, you kind of build up to a final point, and then you carry on. So it'll be interesting to see where things fall. We've got the draft for Raw and SmackDown
about that
in a couple of weeks, just after SummerSlam. If they've got enough superstars left to split between two rosters.
True.
We've been talking about a lot of the negatives that have been happening in WWE recently, and one company's loss is always another company's gain, and things seem to be turning for the positive for AEW. They're just about to debut their second weekly show, although I kind of feel it's kind of third because they have AEW Dark.
Yeah, but they're on YouTube. No one really watches it, so it doesn't really
second
count.
network show. It's an hour long, AEW Rampage.
Yes.
I don't know how you watch it in the UK at the minute.
Fight TV, I think, is only on.
So, or
illegal streams.
Yeah, which we don't condone.
I definitely do not watch them.
So it'll be interesting how that kind of plays out. We've been able to watch Dynamite on ITV4 in the UK, which is kind of handy. I've been able to actually watch it, so I don't think I'll be able to cover much Rampage action because I don't even know what Fight TV is, but I'm guessing you've got to pay for it.
Yeah, I think it's like £3 for the show or something. So it's not like astronomical, but for an hour. And if you have the option of not paying £3 in other ways of streaming it, then perhaps you do that instead.
But it has been a good couple of weeks for AEW.
Yeah.
Well, and good and bad. I just want to touch on one of the bad first. They've managed to annoy some of their sponsors with the...
That's not bad. It wasn't bad. That was hilarious.
They aired a death match on network TV. And somehow, I don't know if it was planned or not. It's got to have been planned. It's such a coincidence. There is a spot where Nick Gage runs a pizza cutter across Chris Jericho's face, and it was perfectly timed. At the same time this is happening, an advert for Domino's Pizza is being showed on picture-in-picture.
Oh, it was absolutely brilliant.
Hilarious, but it did piss off Domino's Pizza. They didn't appreciate the two images being next to each other. And I think one thing to not do when you're on TV is piss off the sponsors. That's where you make your money. So I don't expect to be seeing anything deathmatch orientated from AEW for quite a while.
PC gone mad. Domino's need to lighten up a bit. That's just too funny. Have they never heard of all publicity is good publicity?
There's a limit.
There was people talking about Domino's. Like, probably the most tweets about Domino's ever?
Maybe. I only wanted to touch on it briefly because it was hilarious, but
it was so good.
Probably not the best decision that AEW have made recently. But let's talk about some good rumours. We touched on it on a previous episode, but nothing's come of it yet. But I feel like it's worth mentioning. There has been some rumours of some big signings for AEW. Two of them that stick out as the strongest is CM Punk and Daniel Bryan.
Yes.
There is also a much smaller, but it is still there, rumour of Brock Lesnar. I don't think it's going to happen, but if it did, all three of these are devastating for WWE, especially Daniel Bryan, who they are still trying to work with. CM Punk was always going to be a big ask to go back to WWE, but yeah, it's not good for WWE and could be very good for AEW.
Yeah, it's big, isn't it? It's the game changer. Is it Hogan going to WCW? Is it that sort of level, Bryan and CM Punk? I think it could be argued.
It could be. And the only problem with making that comparison is ultimately that was the undoing for WCW. Yeah. The big signings coming in was eventually what ruined a lot of what made WCW good. So hopefully not.
I don't think it. Yeah, I think Punk and Bryan are both completely different sort of wrestlers to Hogan. Obviously, a different person.
Yeah. My only concern with it is how are they going to be portrayed? Their characters, their gimmicks, because both Punk and Bryan are so linked to WWE for their story. Like, obviously Bryan can't use most of what he's known for at the minute. He's got to reinvent himself, and that's going to be very difficult because of how popular he is. Things like the yes chants.
Yeah.
They won't be able to engage in. The crowd are going to do them. They can't stop that. You can't.
Can WWE trademark yes and no?
They can trademark the gimmick.
They can. I don't think that Bryan will run with that character. No. And I have ultimate faith in him. Sort of one of the best wrestling minds if you want to reinvent himself. Same as CM Punk. There's obviously been, I don't know, have you been watching AEW?
A little bit.
There's been, I guess you've seen sort of the hints towards CM Punk in like little lines out of the pipe bomb speech being thrown into other people's monologues, and Darby Allin saying about the best in the world and stuff like that. So
if he doesn't sign, some people are going to turn on AEW. Like, if they've baited it this much and he doesn't sign, it's going to be terrible.
Yeah, I agree. I think I'd turn on AEW after that. Surely he has to. And it's like, if it's not CM Punk, it's someone like I was trying to think of someone like Big Show or Mark Henry turning up, or Christian Cage, like that other debut that they were teasing. Hall of Famer Christian Cage turns up, or if it's like Booker T or someone like that turning up.
Braun Strowman.
Braun Strowman. Oh god, that'd be awful.
I don't have a problem. I'm excited to see what happens if CM Punk does sign for AEW, but a part of me will be disappointed that he never went back to WWE and had the feud was written there. The anti-establishment character with an actual axe to grind against WWE.
Yeah.
It was there, and I know it probably would have been terrible because WWE mismanaged every story ever, and I still keep getting my hopes up. But I'll be disappointed that we never got to see it.
Yeah, I am disappointed. There is sort of a tiny little ounce of me that is disappointed, but then a huge rest of me, the rest of the 16 stone of me, that's very excited to see CM Punk in AEW, just because of the creative freedom that you'll get, all of these new matches, Kenny Omega, Jungle Boy, Darby Allin, Sting? A match against Sting? That would be interesting. All of these people, Hangman Page, same as Bryan.
There's so many good matches.
It's so mouthwatering, and they're just matches that you simply wouldn't have had in WWE. And for them to be on the scale that they are on national TV every week, it's going to be exciting. Bryan's going to be exciting. Bryan Omega, God, imagine that. Imagine that. It's mouthwatering. Can't wait, and I just really hope that it happens now, because I think I might cry if it doesn't. I'm not going to lie.
Well, now's going to be my opportunity to piss off every AEW fan that listens to this podcast, because I want to offer some criticism for AEW. Now, I'm not going to criticise them for anything I wouldn't criticise WWE for, and we bash on them a lot. So I sat down, excited to watch AEW a couple of weeks ago, Fight the Fallen special, not a pay-per-view, but kind of its own. AEW do things a bit different because they have a different company, obviously.
Yeah.
Build is a big event. Obviously, it finished with the death match for Chris Jericho. I'm not the biggest fan of that style, so personally, it wasn't for me, but I can understand why people would have enjoyed it. I'm just a little bit squeamish when it comes to things like that. But what I wanted to talk about was their main title story. It opened the show, which isn't a problem because their main event was already set, so first match is always like a big one, a big important one as well. And I haven't really been following the story building into this, so if I've got anything wrong, you'll be able to correct me, Sam.
Yeah.
But the Dark Order and Hangman Page were due to have some title matches against Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks.
If they won.
Yeah. But as it was portrayed, they had those matches, but if they lost, they would lose the matches. Kind of, it was already hinted at that these matches were going to happen, but this is kind of stepped in. And they had a 5-on-5 elimination match, which is always a great match type. It's like the Survivor Series classic. You can do some really great stuff in it. But it seemed very weird how it was portrayed to me, because this is meant to be one of the biggest stories, if not the biggest story that you should be telling, because it's your world title.
Yeah. And
I was thrown off a little bit when Kenny Omega, the Young Bucks, and whatever the Good Brothers go by now,
I think that's it. Yeah.
Came out dressed as basketballers.
Space Jam, man.
Yeah, I get the reference. But I was a bit like watching it going, that wasn't what I expected to happen. I know it kind of fits in with their characters.
Yeah.
They're meant to be kind of the heels you love to hate sort of thing. But it was a very strange way to start. And the first half of the match for me felt very much like what you see at like a live event, when there's just a little bit not serious about it. They obviously had a couple of segments where everyone was attacking one person, and they was like throwing them into like people into the corner. which just did feel very much like the kind of dark match or house show matches you kind of see. It didn't really sit right with me for such an important match.
Yeah.
It was just kind of presented in, especially in the early stages, as a bit more of not a joke, but it's a little too silly at times. They also did the spot which everybody hates in WWE, but no one seems to complain about this one, where everyone's fighting and someone climbs to the top rope, and this was a really obvious one because it took him quite a while to get his. And it's bad in WWE. It's still bad in AEW.
Agreed.
Now I know things are going to look very different because it being a completely different promotion, and they're still in their first couple of years. They haven't quite nailed the TV thing. They've got their own style. It's still it needs a little bit of work, but WWE have been doing it for so long. They have got their style down. They make a lot of mistakes with camera angles and stuff, but there was just something about the in-ring style that just felt off to me. I don't know. You quite like AEW. You mentioned it off camera that there was a lot throwbacks, but
Well, firstly, I'm glad the entrance made you feel that way, because the story was meant to make you feel like the Elite, as they're called, the collective, aren't taking the Dark Order serious. So them coming down as that is sort of like, we'll just go down, have a little mess around, beat these bellends, and couldn't think of a better word than bellends, and that's bad. What a limited vocabulary I've got. Beat these bellends and go on and win, and then go to the bar and have a few beers. So I'm glad it made you feel that way.
I'm just going to say that would be a great story of we're not taking them seriously if they didn't win. Prove it right.
Well, the thing is, it's sort of, I sort of kind of explained it a couple of weeks ago with the whole Adam Page thing. It's crisis of confidence and
stuff.
It's
a slow builder.
It's another thing. It's they keep teasing that Page is going to come good. Finally, realise his potential and beat Omega, and then they just rip it all away, and it's sort of like another corner for Page to turn, and he's got to try and find his confidence and stuff. It's, if you've watched the story from the beginning to the end, it's just so good, and I think it's probably, I was going to say the best wrestling story ever. I'd probably stand by that. I honestly would. If you carry on watching it a little bit longer, you might sort of pick up on it a bit, but yeah, I completely take on board the style of the match. I was a little bit disappointed by it. There was moments in it that sort of made up for it, like with the 3-on-1 at the end where the Bucks and Omega was in the ring, and Page was on the outside. That sort of, it was kind of mirroring what happened at the pay-per-view when Page walked out on the Elite when they were good guys, blah blah blah. So there was a lot of mirroring, a lot of good storytelling in there that sort of made up for the match itself. But I do agree that the style, it didn't sort of fit with the occasion, like you say.
Yeah.
So yeah, I do take that on board completely.
It definitely picked up in the second half of the match. It was just very weird at the start, and obviously I appreciate it if you jump into the middle of a story being told. You're not going to get all understand everything, and they can't walk you through everything that's happened. WWE try to, and whether that's good or bad is up to personal taste.
That's it.
But there's also a tombstone pole driver slam dunk spot, and it was just things like that which, given the gravity of the importance of this match, obviously it ended with the Elite winning, so Adam Page and the Dark Order aren't getting their title matches, and then not taking it serious. It kind of felt weird to me. In my head, I was thinking, what would I say if we had a match on SmackDown where Roman Reigns and the Usos came out to face John Cena and the Mysterios, but the Usos were just taking the piss a bit, and I'd be like, don't like this. I know it's very different characters, but it was just,
I would
you can't
agree.
help but compare when you watch both.
I would agree, but I think the key difference is that AEW have that credit. WWE have effed up so many times that you just feel like they're going to. AEW rarely messed up on stories. And I think you give them that credit to see how they do in a few weeks. If in a few weeks' time it's like still crap, then fair enough. We go back and say that it's rubbish.
Yeah.
But we can judge it in a couple of weeks' time.
I did have to take a moment and pause it right after they made their entrances, because I know AEW have different entrances for heels and faces.
Yeah.
I didn't know which way round it was. And after Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks and the Good Brothers did their entrance doing all the bicycle stuff, I was like, I just need to stop this for a second and figure out which ones am I meant to be disliking. Because there is something quite dislikable about the characters the Young Bucks play. But I had to check, because I know the Elite is it is AEW, like that is Wyatt Ford.
Yeah,
and I was like, are they the faces? Like, I need to check.
Definitely bad guys.
I thought they were, but you know, you don't want to. You don't want to get it wrong and feel like really awkward at the end. Like, was I meant to like that?
Is that the first time you've seen John Silver wrestle in Dark Order? Little guy, bald head, super short arms.
I didn't notice the arms, but
he's got the shortest arms ever. It's almost like he doesn't have biceps and it's just forearms. That's the length of them.
I don't think it was the first time I watched them wrestle, but it was one of the first times I'd properly paid attention, because I knew how important the match was. I was really invested in it. I don't know if it's just me, but do you think that Adam Page kind of looks like he could be like Stephen Amell's cousin? Because I kept looking at him and thinking it was him at first.
I've never thought that.
They've got very similar faces to me.
Okay.
He's obviously a big wrestling fan, Stephen Amell, so
maybe they are cousins.
For a second, I was like, wait, have I missed something huge? And he's actually been training as a professional wrestler. I was like, oh no, that was just a TV program. And then I looked again. I was like, no, it's definitely not the same person.
Maybe if he had a shave, he'd look like him. But then we know that if wrestlers do shave and they're renowned for having beards, they do look like a completely different person. We'll maybe tweet it out later after we release the podcast. But I came across a picture of Bray Wyatt and he's shaved his face and looks like a completely different person. I honestly didn't realise it was Bray Wyatt until I read the caption, and it's just wrong. It's so wrong.
There's been a few wrestlers that changed their appearance quite dramatically. Braun Strowman did it. He's kind of shaved all of his face and everything. Obviously Otis is then on SmackDown, and it is when you're so used to how someone looks and they change something as dramatic as getting rid of a beard or getting rid of their hair or something like that, and it's like,
this is the weirdest one yet, though, because it doesn't even look like him. It looks like Wilson Fisk.
It's not bad.
Dreads.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's not too bad to look like Wilson Fisk until you add the dreads. We'll tweet out a picture, not that one. I did Photoshop him to look like a woman.
Sister Abigail.
We won't tweet that one out. But it was a weird look.
It's very weird, and let's just hope he carries on wearing a mask wherever he goes next, because I am not on board with him being clean shaved at all.
No, I'm excited to see whatever he does. The question is, we'll go back to Bray Wyatt. That's how we started the podcast. Let's circle back to it. Is there a chance that this is not that it's a work, but is it that he comes back to WWE? Like Samoa Joe did. He left. A couple of weeks later, he came back.
I saw some crazy fan theories that Bray Wyatt has been released, but Wyndham Rotunda or whatever is that his name?
Something like that.
Yeah. Apologies if I butchered that. I probably have. Maybe he is still in the company and he's going to come back as another thing.
Well, I also saw a very worrying theory that Bray Wyatt has been released, but the Fiend hasn't. And also, just to really make it a terrible theory, because that would already be bad. WWE tried to replace a gimmick before fake Diesel and Razor Ramon.
Yeah.
But also, this week on Raw, the Raw that Bray Wyatt was meant to return at, allegedly,
with a new season of the Firefly Funhouse,
Elias has dropped his gimmick and he's going to be coming back as something new. And someone posted a theory on Twitter that he's going to come back as the Fiend.
Oh my gosh. Please no. Just please no.
And that would be terrible.
A guitar playing Fiend.
We burnt his guitar.
Yeah.
Fire.
Fiend.
WWE no longer stands for Walk with Elias. I am interested to know what his gimmick's going to be, but
Oh,
I have a horrible feeling it's going to be terrible.
I don't think it's going to be a Fiend. I don't think Bray Wyatt's going to come back. I think they have very purposely pretty much gave the Fiend's gimmick to Alexa Bliss to carry on selling merchandise of her, and then sacked off Bray Wyatt because he's on too much money. That's what I think they've done. That's cynical, Sam.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. So I don't think Bray Wyatt's coming back in WWE, but I am excited to see where he turns up. Because if he's given free reins, like everyone said, he's got the best creative mind currently. So it'll be interesting to see what he comes up with.
He's tweeted out a picture, kind of like a skull paint face thing, saying something like "can't kill it" or "it lives" or something like that. So he's obviously got some ideas.
I don't know if he'd fit. Everyone's saying AEW. I don't know if he'd fit in AEW because they don't really have supernatural gimmicks in there. And when they have been in there, like they tried Matt Hardy teleporting and it went down like a lead balloon. They have a female wrestler called Abaddon. I don't know if you've seen her. She's like dressed kind of like a zombie, I guess. She's not really gone down too well. So
could that be the way to introduce it though? Like with
potentially
one of the most sought after character wrestlers
potentially.
At the minute.
It's just not in that universe, so I just don't see how it'd fit in there. The closest you've got to it is kind of Sting and Darby Allin, and they're essentially just normal guys. In Darby Allin's case, that does extreme things and wears some face paint on his face. He doesn't claim to be supernatural or non-human, if you want to say.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens. We've still got a little bit of time left, and we kind of not got much more to talk about. But I did just kind of have a thought. Like, there's been rumours for a couple of months now about WWE selling.
Yeah,
and that's why they're doing all these things. If you bought WWE,
okay,
right this minute on the 12th of August, so if anything drastic has changed between now and uploading, let's just get the date in there.
Breaking news, WWE sold to Sam Gardner.
Yeah, you've just bought WWE, you've got complete control.
Okay.
What is the first thing you're doing?
Sacking Triple H.
You're sacking Triple H, okay.
Yeah, because he's a douche. And getting Shawn Michaels away from NXT. I've had enough of this sort of melodramatic looking at hands, oh my god, what have I done type thing that they love. No, seriously, what would I do with WWE? I think probably the first thing I'd do that came to my head was make Raw a 2-hour show rather than a 3-hour show, which is something that people have been calling out for ages and ages. It's just so long to fit in good content, and I think that is a major part of Raw's failings, that it's a 3-hour show. 2 hours is just so much more manageable. You can time it so much better. You can see with SmackDown. SmackDown's not a drastically different show.
SmackDown does sometimes leave me wanting a bit more.
But I think
maybe
that's
3 hours
thing.
Is too long.
I think that's a good thing rather than dreading, like, come on man, let this thing finish, like when you're 1.5 hours through. So I think that's probably the first thing I'd do. What would you do?
I think my first thing is I'm sat down with all of the heads of departments in WWE. Obviously, I'm just replacing Vince effectively. Is I'm getting Daniel Bryan, CM Punk, Bray Wyatt, there's a few others. I'm getting them on the phone. I'm getting hold of their representatives. I'm finding out if they have signed anything, if there's anything confirmed. If not, I'm arranging meetings with them.
Yeah.
Because letting them is a mistake, and if you can bring them back in, I think you're off to a good start. That would be the first thing, is all of these missed opportunities that it's not too late to fix, is I'm seeking them out. Like, whether I could convince anyone, probably not. I'm not known to be the best convincer of things, but
money talks.
Money does talk.
Big Daddy Cross dipping in his big pockets.
I wouldn't change things from 3 hours to 2 hours, just because that's a whole contract negotiation thing with the networks. But when it got round to renewing that, it might be something to talk about. But I would do a big overhaul of WWE and how things are managed, and how like things like championships are run.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to be an on-screen character, but I'd kind of do it how NXT. They've kind of changed it. How NXT used to have it with William Regal. Like he was there.
Yeah, you knew he was in charge,
but he would just kind of show up
character.
once a month or once every couple of months. And
yeah.
I'd kind of want to do that kind of thing. Everyone's going to know that WWE's got a new owner. You'd make an announcement, you'd come out, and then you wouldn't see. I wouldn't be on TV.
Yeah.
But then maybe 6, 9, 12 months down the line, there's a big story, and the owner's got to get involved to do so. And then I'll disappear. I wouldn't want. That's what kind of Vince has done recently, anyway.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I think one of the main things I want to change about WWE is the women's division.
Yeah.
It's just they seem to never get longer than 5 minutes, and 5 minutes is generous. Like for the amount of time they've been given. It's the same as the tag team division. There's no sort of mid-card story with the women or the tag teams. Just give them a spotlight. Let them show what they can do because they're so good. I'd love to see another Evolution pay-per-view.
Yeah.
Absolutely love it.
They've got more talent now.
Yeah.
It could be a better pay-per-view. The first one was groundbreaking for WWE.
Yeah.
But also at the same time, there was something that didn't quite work about it.
Well, it was on the same week as the Saudi Arabia show where there was no women's matches whatsoever, was it? So it kind of felt like, there's no women's matches on this and we're going for blood money, but we're going to give you a all-women's pay-per-view. Please don't hate us.
It kind of felt like it was missing something, and it was because it was missing the men, but that's not really what I mean. Like there was just something not quite... They didn't have enough like main event stories going into it, so there was something missing. Now I feel like they can build up a bit more. There's rumoured to be doing a Queen of the Ring that could
I'm
work
looking forward to that.
Great into it. Hopefully they borrow from like the NXT style of doing tournaments because those have been great.
I hope at the end of it they don't just go, "Oh, the winner is the Queen." They go, the winner is the Queen and also gets a title shot.
Yeah.
So it actually means something. Because like, what in realistic sort of terms, what is the Queen? Like you get to wear a crown.
Did they used to get a title shot back in the day?
I think they might have.
I know it launched some careers.
Yeah, obviously Stone Cold was launched by Maven.
Maven was launched.
I'm sure. I think they were given a title shot, and if they're not, they should be now because it would just make things seem so much like. It's actually got some weight, gravitas behind it, if you want. Because the sort of king gimmick that we've seen over last year, it's stupid. It's like,
I do like a good king gimmick,
yeah.
But it gets stale kind of quick.
Well, what's the last good king gimmick that we've seen? My mind goes to Booker T.
I don't think we've seen a good one, but Booker T was kind of the big one when we would have been younger watching it.
Because we had King Booker, and we had King Barrett, Sheamus, Baron Corbin. Sheamus had that bloody Irish crown on, didn't he? That was awful. Wade Barrett had like the sort of stereotypical English red puffy crown type thing. And then we've obviously had Baron Corbin. I don't think we've had one.
We've got King Nakamura at the minute.
Yeah, doesn't really count, does he?
Not really.
But yeah, just give him a title shot at the end of it. That'd be great. Same as the women's one. That'd be great. And don't give it to Charlotte just because she's the queen. That'd be amazing.
I think she should lose in the final if they do a Queen of the Ring. I'd have Charlotte make it to the final, and everyone's been like, "Oh, they're going to give it to Charlotte again," and then have someone new. Not brand new, like you've never seen them, but someone who's not a main event, main roster women's.
Yeah, 3 women stand out for me: Liv Morgan, Toni Storm, and Sonya Deville.
I think of the 3, I'd probably give it to Toni Storm.
Yeah,
but Liv Morgan should get a good run in that tournament.
If it wasn't Charlotte and there was a heel in there, say Sonya Deville, I think Liv Morgan would be the perfect sort of full person to lose in the final. Yeah, I think Toni Storm would fit Queen of the Ring perfectly. She's just come up to the main roster, bit of buzz behind her, no one really knows what she's sort of about on the main roster. Give her that sort of crown, the title shot, and then she's propelled right into the main event picture, and she's definitely got the ability to fold through with it as well.
So, we've got a week until SummerSlam. Hopefully we can get a recording in for a podcast, at least the predictions. But in case we don't get an opportunity to do a full podcast between now and SummerSlam, as with this new setup and some quite busy schedules at the minute, it might be a little bit difficult.
Yeah.
But just to wrap up, the big 2 matches at SummerSlam: part-timer versus world champion Goldberg versus Bobby Lashley, and John Cena versus Roman Reigns. As it stands right now, who do you think is going to win? Obviously, this isn't official predictions. We can change when we come to it, but just want to get your thoughts on those two.
I think, and I hope as well, Bobby Lashley and Roman Reigns, both retentions. I can't actually see any titles changing hands.
You don't think any titles are going to change hand on SummerSlam? The second biggest pay-per-view, the biggest party of the summer.
Second biggest party? What's the first biggest party of the summer? My birthday, baby! Second biggest party of the summer, yeah.
You don't think any titles are going to change hands?
Well, I don't think the main titles are going to change hands at least. Unless Big E cashes in. That's the only way I can see it. Roman Reigns, what I hope will happen is kind of, Brock Lesnar, John Cena, he just absolutely dominates Cena and just reaffirms himself as the main man. Roman Reigns, don't mess. That's what I hope, and I think that's what Cena will do.
It's what should happen, but I can honestly see one of them losing. They've both held the title for quite a while.
Yeah.
And if I had to pick whether John Cena became 17-time world champion in WWE or Goldberg beat Bobby Lashley, if I had to pick one, I would pick Cena. And the reason is he's actually good. I don't want to see Goldberg as champion.
The only way I'll accept Goldberg is Goldberg wins, Big E cashes in straight away and takes it from him.
But the problem is Goldberg doesn't have much in the way of promos. It's not that he's not skilled. It's that his character kind of revolves around one style of promo. Walk out and scream, "You're next," or "I'm next," or "Somebody's next." And that's kind of his promos most.
And then he does 3 moves and then it's match done.
So I don't want to see any more of that than is necessary. John Cena, there is a story there. That is a record breaking thing. They can do something with it. They could. So if I had to have one, I'd pick to have Cena win.
Yeah.
I don't want either to happen. But if I had to pick one, I'd have Cena win. There's been some great booking videos about what would happen if John Cena won a 17th title reign. So plenty of people have got some great ideas. Hopefully, at least one of the writers in the writing room at WWE also has a great idea. Would it hurt Roman Reigns? Maybe, but it depends how it happens. You can structure that match in a way that doesn't. So
yeah,
it wouldn't be the biggest negative. I think it might leave a sour taste in some people's mouths. Kind of depends how long Cena can stick around for, really. He's a busy man.
Yeah. I think I tend to agree with that, but in an ideal world, both retain. And let's just touch wood and pray that it happens.
Yeah.
I do think something big's got to happen at SummerSlam, though. I don't know what it will be.
Yeah, nothing's jumping out at the minute. There's some great looking matches.
I think I lied, actually. I think Sasha could win the belt off of Bianca.
There's some great looking matches just based on who's in them, and people we know that can have good matches. There's still 2 SmackDowns, 1 Raw between now and then. There's still stuff that can be set up, but there is that lack of a huge, obvious thing happening. A Big E cash-in would be one, but I kind of want him to hold out a bit longer because I enjoy the briefcase being about. So
I think I prefer Big E to actually challenge Roman Reigns up front rather than cash in while he's down. Say at a WrestleMania or something like that. Just like, because when he beats him, he's so much better and it will make Big E so much stronger rather than just beating like a downed Roman if you want. Because then Roman's got the excuse of, well, I've just been through a match with X superstar or whatever.
I mean, to be honest, I still want him to turn heel and cash in on Kofi Kingston or Xavier Woods. Like, imagine a story where Xavier Woods wins the title, maybe off Goldberg. Who cares at that point? Like,
Yeah.
Xavier Woods wins the title off of someone. They're doing the celebration. Big E comes out all like to celebrate with his buddies.
Yeah, that wouldn't be amazing.
Gives him a hug. Belly to belly suplex.
That'd be the ultimate heartbreak, though.
It would.
I'd never believe in love again.
It
Big
would
E turned
ruin
on the New Day.
But how good could that be? How good could that be? And I think on that really depressing potential story,
Don't do it, Big E. We love you. We love the New Day.
I think that's a good point to wrap up.
Yeah.
Hopefully this audio sounded good. If you've made it this far, I'm assuming it did. But we'll try and record often. It's going to be a little bit more difficult with new setups and
Should
busy
only
lives.
be for a few weeks, though. Should only be for a few weeks. So thank you all for listening, sticking with us, and we'll see you again sometime soon. Over to Damien for the socials, who's right next to me rather than through a computer phone screen, my bob.
I'll do it off camera.
Goodbye.
Again. As always, you can check us out on Facebook by searching the Figure Fourcast and on Twitter by searching @Figure4UK. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time.